Today, I am very excited to be showcasing some new exclusive gameplay for the all-new activity Gambit, coming in the Forsaken expansion for Destiny 2. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about Gambit and how it works, but mainly, we're going to be showcasing an all-new exotic bow. You're going to want to see this, so let's get started. What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today, yes, we have some exclusive Gambit gameplay. Now, this is kind of a big deal. This is the first brand new activity, its own directory space that has been added to Destiny 2 in basically ever. So, Activision was kind enough to provide me with this opportunity while I'm at E3. Now, later today, I'm also going to be posting a video talking about and showcasing some brand new gameplay with the all-new supers. You don't want to miss that either. And let's just jump into this. What the heck is Gambit at a base level? Well, Gambit is essentially a PvEVP mode, whereas you verse off against another team. But both teams are dropped into two identical arenas, and they kill enemies in order to progress their ultimate objective. Now, they do that by just slaying out on ads. Those ads are going to drop motes, and you pick up those motes, and then you bank them in this central location. Now, as you bank these motes, you're going to make things happen for the other team. If you bank 5, 10, or 15 motes at a time, you're going to make an enemy boss spawn at the other team right where their bank is, so they can't bank any motes until they kill that boss, and how hard that boss is depends on how much motes you deposit. And banking more and more motes is eventually going to level up your side so that a primeval spawns. This big boss is the ultimate objective, and if you kill this guy, you win the round. But there is a definite catch. When you bank 25 motes, you can actually send one teammate over to the other team's arena, invade them, and that teammate can go out and kill up to 4 enemy team members. In addition to that, when the primeval is spawned, the final boss, it will constantly let people invade from the other team into your side. And if they kill you, they're going to heal your primeval by a little bit. So that's going to be where things are getting absolutely the most hectic. But remember, if they're sending people over, they only have 3 people left to try to bank motes and kill their primeval as well. So there's a lot of give and take in this mode. But like I said, the focus for this video is about this exotic bow. And just talking about bows in general, this is the first time I have gotten to experience the bows, and well, frankly, pretty much anyone has been able to see these bows in action in terms of gameplay. So, what was it like using a bow in general, and let alone an exotic bow? Well, this bow's exotic ability that firstly makes it so that when you fire an arrow, it splits on release. Now, it has another exotic ability that makes precision kills cause the next shot to have chain lightning capabilities. So, if you kill a normal enemy with a precision shot, the next shot will chain between enemies, electrocute a bunch of guys at a time, and is great for dealing with multiple enemies with a single shot. And this exotic is called the Trinity Ghoul. So, how was the brand new bow weapon type in Destiny 2? Well, it actually feels pretty good, pretty effective, and pretty unique. I was somewhat worried that it would act very similar to linear fusion rifles, of course. They both have a charge time in essence, with the fusion rifle actually charging and the bow, you having to draw it back, essentially another type of charge time. But with the bows, interestingly, you don't have to pull it back all the way to shoot it. You can pull back just a little bit and let go, or do a full draw. And using the bow, it's actually pretty easy to tell when the full draw is in effect and you're at your most accurate. Now, when we talk to the developers, they seem to indicate that drawing back on your bow all the way would not necessarily increase damage, but it would increase accuracy. So it's going to increase how fast your bow travels and reduce the amount of arc that it does have. And you'll see me in the background, like I'm using this bow quite a bit against normal enemies, but I'm also able to get a few crispy bow snipes on some opponents when I invade the other team, and it feels quite good, but you'll also see me miss a few times because it is certainly something you have to get used to. Not only do you have this charge time essentially in drawing back the bow, but the bow itself isn't a hit scan, it's a projectile, and it takes time to get to your opponents, and you'll have to lead the shot sometimes, where your opponents are going. With that being said, using the bow, I was also able to detect quite a bit of aim assist, I would say. The bow was able to draw back, and when you had an enemy somewhere in your sights, you would let it go, and even if the sight wasn't perfectly over his head, the bow kind of gave you the benefit of the doubt and went to that enemy's head, and you'd get the precision shot. So that's something to keep in mind, and I think overall that is probably good for usability. Now, another interesting thing is that this bow is not in the heavy slot. This bow, this exotic bow, is actually in the special weapon category. So that confirms that bows are some of the weapons you can utilize in your primary and your secondary energy slots with this new weapon system, and that's very exciting. Now, this bow was pretty darn good against just normal baseline enemies, and actually pretty decent against bosses as well. I was able to just get quick succession shots one after another and take down bosses, I felt like, pretty darn quickly. It's also rather effective against enemy guardians as well if you can land your shots. Where the bow somewhat struggled was against medium tier enemies, like enemies with shields, for example. Like, it didn't seem to do very much against a shielded enemy, so you'd have to shoot him once, then you'd shoot him again to take down his shield, then a third time to get the precision shot to eventually kill him. And because of that, and of course the rate of fire is pretty abysmal, yeah, not the most effective weapon there. Of course, different bows and different draw times could actually have different damage. In fact, that draw time stat is very important. You're actually going to see it in the little stat sheet for your bows. It's going to say draw time, just like how fusion rifles say charge time. So likely, we're going to get a bunch of different bow archetypes with different draw times. For example, the exotic bow had a draw time of 800, and another legendary bow that we could use, it was actually a viced bow, had a draw time of 680. So that's what you're seeing in the background gameplay, and you can really compare these two different bow archetypes. One with a slower draw time and more damage, the exotic one, and another legendary one that's faster and more nimble. And hopefully this is not all we see. I would love to see even faster draw times and even slower draw times, resulting in some massive long bows that just do a ton of damage. The more archetypes, the better. So, where do I see bows fitting into Destiny 2 in terms of the meta? Well, for PvP, I think they're actually going to be reasonably popular. Maybe not the absolute top tier most effective, but certainly very fun to use and extremely satisfying to use. They're a high skill gap weapon, and if capable of consistent one-shot kills with precision shots, that's nothing to scoff at. It's essentially a sniper rifle that's a little bit better in closer range engagements because you can shoot it right away without having to draw all the way, so you could see some people get very skilled with bows. In terms of PvE, although it did again feel like it was doing pretty decent damage against bosses, it's probably not going to be doing as much damage as stuff like shotguns and so on, and those are actually competing in the same slots that bows are. For a little bit in this gameplay, I was actually running double shotguns, and wasn't actually that effective, it turns out, but it was certainly fun and it was certainly different. So it's not like your bow is competing with your handgun, your bow is also competing with shotguns and sniper rifles, so remember that. And therefore, I feel like some bows are going to be very, very good in PvE, even bows like this exotic one, where you have an exotic ability that can deal with multiple enemies at the same time, because otherwise, it's a very, very slow weapon that's going to take quite a while to take down the basic and even medium enemies that you find in PvE for 99% of the time. But I don't want to seem like I'm disparaging the bows, because overall they were a very fun archetype to use. They felt very unique than the other weapons in the game, and they did feel pretty effective. And I do also think they will find a slot in the PvE and or PvP metas, especially depending on what the other exotic bows have for us. Is there a graviton bow lying around? Well, maybe. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.